John Hoffman.
Thank you.
So before we talk about the Barber of Little Rock, let's talk just a little bit about the other two films. I mean, I sat there watching Sheila's film, Banned Books, and I thought, how can our world be so clueless and so angry? And
I know, but those kids, they are the hope.
yeah, I was looking and thinking, is this the first AI documentary where those kids were actually not talking and there were adults saying those words? So sophisticated.
It was remarkable, just remarkable.
Remarkable. And for those of you who don't know Sheila Nevins created HBO documentaries and really created the documentary world, not just in the United States, but around the world. You worked there for 17 years?
She was my boss for 17 years. Yes.
And this is her directorial debut. So, and she's on the advisory board also here at Hamptons Doc Fest. And how many of you are familiar with the Bridge Golf Course? Oh, good. I'd never heard of it. So that's quite wonderful and quite amazing. And so, the Barber of Little Rock, how did that come about?
The team I have, and Christine Turner, my co-director, just had a baby. He's in San Francisco, so she couldn't be here. But we were given the challenge to make a film about the racial wealth gap. And so it was just, it was an open-ended,
Small topic, yeah.
topic. But we had the privilege of time to really examine the problem. And we read a book called The Color of Money by a woman named Mirza Baradaran. And it's a really brilliantly written book about the history of black banking in this country. And it lays out that since Reconstruction, it's just been one series of failures after another, that the government has utterly failed in its policies. Until Clinton created the community development financial institutions. So 40 years ago, he had this insight that that one of the barriers to economic opportunity is access to capital. And so there needed to be a fund of money, and it's administered by the Fed, that would get capital into underserved communities. So that could be rural communities, but it's also Black and Latino urban communities. So you start reading about CDFIs, you start trying to enter those worlds and meet the people who run them, and you see that it's a very inspiring sort of part of the economic system. It's very high-touch banking. And so we had this idea if we would embed in a CDFI. And someone pointed me to a conversation, a Zoom conversation during COVID between Bill Clinton and a woman named Donna Gambrell, who was the first administrator of the CDFI program in his administration. And she's the president of National Association of Black Bankers, and she runs sort of an intermediary fund that gets the money from the Fed to people like Arlo. And she said, you have to meet this guy, Arlo, Washington. She said, you have to go to Little Rock. It's in a shipping container in the parking lot of his barber college. And right then and there, you're like, we're going. So we met Arlo and knew right away that this was the place we wanted to bring our cameras.
What a character. All of the people were incredible characters. Did you, as filmmakers, characters are everything, subjects are everything, and you can spend a lot of time trying to find the right people. It's not like you just go and say to Arlo, who should we talk to? Okay, have them come at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning and we'll film them. Because half of them won't be able to speak well or be thoughtful. How did you find those people, and how many people did you interview to interview?
Well, I would say that in addition to what you're saying about you don't have a film unless you have characters, you don't have characters unless you have trust. So I think that the foundation of a documentary film is the trust relationship between you and the subjects of your film. So that trusting relationship all started with Arlo and his wife. His wife is a woman who's one of the interview subjects with short braided hair. And together they run the Barber College. And so Arlo and Debony thought long and hard before this allowing cameras into their worlds of the Barber College and People Trust. But once they did, then by extension, the people who worked, the students at the Barber College, the people who worked at the loan fund, if Arlo and Debony are trusting us, then they're going to extend the same trust. But we also filmed for a year. So we went to Little Rock for many times over the course of a year. And so the interviews that you see, the studio interviews, are the last thing that we did. So by the time, everyone who we interviewed is on screen. So by the time we got to those interviews, those people, we knew those people well and they knew us well. We just came up with 5 questions. They were all asked the same question,
Sure.
just 5 questions. So.
And so over the year, were you hanging out at the Trust and just trying to film as many interactions as possible?
Exactly. The idea was, you follow the money. So you see, what happens to people's lives when they have access to capital, and you learn that these are people that are, to a great extent, just shut out of the financial system. And if CDFIs and the way that they are deciding, whether someone qualifies for a loan is just qualitatively different than how traditional banks decide that. So, Terrence, who gets the $50,000 loan, he is an ex-felon, and he does not have, the sort of the means to open that shop. He needs that loan, but he doesn't have the collateral for the loan.
Right.
So, but the criteria that Arlo uses is one based on different levels of trust, and Terrence got a $50,000 loan. He now has this shop.
Yeah, it was wonderful to see at the end that 95% of the loans are paid back. Now, when you make a documentary film, you've got to find a beginning, a middle, and an end. You don't have that going into this film. If you're making a historical documentary, you maybe have a chronology. Here's where it starts. This is what happens. We're going to follow this person for a year. We're going to tell this story. How did you find your beginning, middle, and end? That can drive you bonkers. And it's also a wonderful challenge, but it also keeps you up at night.
Right. Well, meeting Terrence early in our filming, and then seeing that he's able to actually get his shop open. Lincola with the blonde hair, who is a student and gets her graduation and then gets this loan to open up a small business, and she's doing very well. So that was going in. We just had to trust that if we film enough, we're going to be able to have that kind of an ending.
Another reason to film for a year, because you can't go, you have budgets, you have, tight budgets. You could have had 20 days of shooting, or 30 days would be a lot in a funded documentary. How do you make 30 days go for a year? That's almost impossible.
Right.
I assume you had a lot more.
I actually don't remember how many days we actually filmed, but I think if you go for 3 or 4 days,
You can get a lot.
10 times,
Right.
you can get a lot. And we knew going in that we had to film for a year. We had to have a passage of time to see how this access to money, to capital, can change people's lives. But then it's in the editing process that the structure of the film emerges. And it was very late in the game, the idea of interviewing the people the way that we did. We never, Christina and I did not ever think about doing that until relatively late in the game. That we realized that we had developed a really good relationship with all the people that you see, and in a brainstorming session we had this idea that what if we treated those interviews with the same sort of filmic techniques that you do for expert interviews,
right.
For talking heads, which normally, it's an academic, and you put their title and their affiliations down on the screen. But so what if we do all of that and we film these people and we ask these people these sort of open-ended questions? When you hear the word ownership, what do you think or feel? When you hear the word justice, what do you think or feel? And we just trusted that these people would have a lot to say, and they did.
Did you make a conscious choice or talk to Arlo or the subjects about only using first names?
Well, there's no lower thirds anywhere.
Yeah.
And that was another decision. I'll get to the first name. We didn't think long and hard about. No, we didn't.
Yeah.
We didn't have a policy about first names. No, and you can see that Lynn Cola's graduate certificate says her last name there, so you can see it. But we did have to have a conversation about: are we going to name the people in the interviews, and are we going to say Lynn Cola, stylist, and then somebody else is a receptionist, and it's just, what is the point?
Yeah.
And it was irrelevant because you understand who they are in their relationship to Arlo.
A question from the audience. Yes. Hold on one second. We need to hear your praise, recorded for posterity.
Thank you for it, for one. And thanks to Doc Fest for this day, or this program of the 3 films. It's an important film. What are your plans to get it to the various categories of audiences, not just TV, but the bankers? What are your plans to go to white groups here and black groups there, etc.?
Thank you.
Great question.
Yeah. Exciting news that just this week it was announced that the New Yorker has bought the film. So it'll, So thrilled about that. So starting in January, it'll be on the New Yorker site, and there's no barrier to access on their short film. So anybody can watch it at newyorker.com. Then we have remarkable partners who are interested in creating a whole impact campaign for the film. The film's going to be used extensively in the world of these CDFIs. And so there are great plans. You just don't start that until the film has this sort of festival cycle and then all that over the course of next year. But short films, one of the nice things about short films is that you can create community events, because if you have a 90-minute film, it's a lot to ask of an audience to sit through and then have some sort of engagement process, sort of event. But with short films, it lends themselves. So there's a lot of interest in the film for that reason.
Great. Another question. Yes, sir. Take the mic, please.
I found all 3 films enlightening. What were the 5 questions?
When you hear the word ownership, what do you think or feel? When you hear the word justice, what do you think or feel? When you hear the word freedom, I'm now blanking on what they were, but and so it was just that simple. There was
It wasn't personal. It was just.
We did not give them any guidance on how to answer the question. It was just that open-ended. And we didn't coach them in any way saying, well, this is the kind of answer. No, we just simply asked everyone the same 5 questions.
How is the new branch of the bank doing? And has it worked to have an impact in the community around it?
Well, thank you so much for asking that. It's not only that branch is changing.
When did you stop filming? So how much time period has passed? as
We
part of
stopped filming in the fall of 22. So what happened? What's happened subsequently is that Arlo has opened up a. I just blanked on the kind of bank it is.
CDF?
No. There's credit unions. Thank you. He just opened up a credit union. So now they're a depository as well. That area where that new branch is the 12th Street corridor in Little Rock, which is this, with the red-lined issue explained in the film. It's just 2 blocks from Little Rock Central, which is the historic high school of Little Rock, which was the first school to be, integrated after Brown versus the Board of Education. An interesting fact, the Little Rock Nine, people might have heard about the Little Rock Nine, which were the 9 students. So Scotty Green is the older gentleman in the interviews who goes on that tour with Arlo. His uncle is Ernest Green, who was one of the Little Rock Nine. So, it's the issues, and Arlo went to Central as well. So, the history, which we didn't have time to get into, is deep for these people.
Sure. You are very lucky. Short films rarely get seen. Most documentaries don't get seen, but short films, they're even harder to produce than long films. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you, John, for presenting the film.
Thank you so much.